Good morning, everyone. Scott G here with The Simple Trading Life. Welcome to our YouTube live stream. It's nice to have you this morning. We'll be getting started here shortly. I'll bring up your comments here in the chat. That way I can see when anyone asks any questions or might have a name or symbol that you want me to take a look at. So I got on here just a touch early today, and we'll wait to let a few more people join us. As you can see, I have ES, the E-mini S&P 500, up on the screen. This is what we always start with. This is what we watch every single day throughout the day. We also trade it quite a bit. Currently, you can see that we are red. We made a little spike to the upside, then we came down right here to support, 27.21. Our opening price level is this purple dashed line right here, and that was at 27.39.75. So we're letting price play out. We're only 16 minutes into the new session here on a Tuesday, April 7th. So we'll watch this for a few minutes, then we'll get started. You can see price is trying to push its way back up towards the opening price level currently, right here. Okay, our high this morning was when we spiked up here to 27.50 and we flushed back down. Good morning, nice to have you today. Good to see you. You're on almost every live stream, so thank you so much for your support. Just watching ES to see what they're going to do. So these quick spikes, one direction or the other, right at open, we tend to ignore them most of the time. We know that institutional money is always trying to get retail traders out of the way, manipulate them, make them nervous, and then they're in their control the rest of the day. See, we got a couple more people joining us right now. Let some people get with us here, and then we'll get started. We're just right now just watching the opening action here on this first 30-minute candle of ES. If you come up here, you'll see I'm almost always on a 30-minute chart unless I'm doing an analysis of something. And then we flip around and we look at the monthly, the weekly, the daily, sometimes the 1 hour, 4 hour. Sometimes we'll go down to a 15-minute or a 5-minute just to look at various things. And we may talk a little bit about scalping today and the different time frames and how they can be used. So that may be a topic that we cover during today's live stream. Okay, so far, price still trapped between the opening price level and this support area here at 27.21, where you can see it flushed down to and caught support. A couple more people joining us. Welcome. Now in my community, the simpletradinglife.com community, I posted this morning that we needed to be careful, not saying for sure that this is what was going to happen, but I said if we were not able to clear and hold 27.62, there was the possibility that we could see a gap and fade today. And what I mean by that is most names today, as you come over here and look at the advancers, we're at 26.93. Yesterday we opened up at, I think, 25.50. Most names are gapping up today fairly significantly, and that's because of this. Okay, the overnight session on ES, as you can see, the market was up significantly overnight, causing many names to gap up. And so what a gap and fade is exactly what it sounds like. Everything gaps up, but then throughout the day it fades, right? So everybody gets long. Here at market open, a lot of retail traders buy long positions, and then they fade the market. And it is a Tuesday as well. So there is the phenomenon known as turnaround Tuesday. And all that simply is typically whatever happened on a Monday, not all the time, but a large percentage of the time, institutional money will take price the opposite direction on Tuesday, right? Because whatever happened on Monday, retail traders tend to get into the groove of thinking, well, if we were up on Monday, we're going to be up all week, right? We're definitely going to be up on Tuesday. And so they'll take price the other direction. Again, not all the time, just a large percentage of the time. And we have been moving up. Here, let me show you on a larger time frame. We like visuals, right? Okay, we have been moving up ever since here. Okay, so we came down, we sort of bottomed out, and now we've been moving up. This is the 4-hour chart, very strong. Okay, so it would make perfect sense that at some point along here, they might want to pull it back, even if it's just a structure level, right? Even if it's just a structure level, to take some profit, to get retail traders out of the way. There's a bunch of different reasons, right? Okay, so if we come over here, let's do this. I'll squeeze this in for you. A couple more people just joined us. Welcome. Okay, so this is where we're at currently. If you look across the screen, you'll see we're right here in this wick. And where does this wick go to? 2762, which is, as I pointed out in our community this morning, this is a critical level, okay, if you're bullish, right? So if price can clear and hold that, then it can move up to here, right? It can move up to this wick, or even up to the top of this candle over in here. Okay, sort of in that range. But if not, then we could be looking at a possible fade today. So let's come back over to ES. For those of you who just joined, welcome. It's nice to have you here. We're still looking at the market. This is still our opening 30-minute candle. We've got less than 8 minutes to go. Okay, so you can see right out of the gate, they popped it up. Then they brought it down here to support at 27.21. And right now, it's sort of been trapped right in between opening price level and the support level. And it's not too far away from opening price level. So we'll hang out just another minute or so, and then we're going to start looking at some other names. Before I got on live, I was kind of scrolling through a few different names, and I did see several names that were already fading from their large gaps. So they gapped up and they were already fading. Now, will they still be fading when we go back and look at them? Well, we don't know yet, right? Because price is still red, but just barely. And just in the couple minutes that we've been on, we've seen the advancers go from the 2600s up into the 2700s, which means they're increasing, which that typically means we'll see the price of the market start to go up. And right now, that's what's been occurring just for the last few minutes. Okay, when we first got on here, we were red down to about right here, and it's slowly been working its way back up. Okay, so here's what we can do. Let's go ahead and set our alerts like we always do. Those of you who are new, what we do is we'll set an alert both at the high and low ends of this opening range. And if price starts to move significantly in one direction or the other, we'll be alerted and we can come right back to it. Okay, there we have our alert set. Right now we're almost at a doji, which means you open and close at the same price. And let's go ahead and look at a few names. We'll start looking, and then as I said, sometime during today's live stream, we might spend a little time on scalping. Okay, so here's Apple. And as you can see, Apple, significant gap up. And what did it do? It faded. And where did it stop? Right at a support level, 266.42. Bounce back up, still a little bit red, right? Looks very similar to the market. One thing that I want everybody who follows these live streams to learn and understand is that about 80% of the names, sometimes much higher, like today, it might be closer to 90 or 95% of the names will follow the market almost exactly. So whatever the market is doing, they're doing. Their price action will look very similar. The only difference will be the price of the name, right? Okay, so Apple, little spike up, flush down right to a support level, just like the market did, back up, and is close, still red, but close to opening price level. And I'll bet you this is going to be a theme as we look at several of these names. Okay, AMD. We've traded AMD several times here in the last week or two. Okay, so AMD, they opened it just above support. It spiked up, flushed down, and has come back up. And right now, it's right at the support level. Okay, if it would end here and it's got a little bit less than 4 minutes, it would be a spinning top, which would show indecision, right? Could mean the next candle could go either direction. A spinning top or a doji, that just shows indecision between buyers and sellers. There's a struggle going on there. Sellers want to push price down, buyers want to push price up, and they're of equal strength, and so it ends up somewhere in the middle. Okay, so this is AMD. Let's look at Amazon. We always go through. I have a watch list over here of about 30 or 35 names. All different sectors of the market, companies from around the world, larger companies, smaller companies, just to always give me a good gauge of what's going on in the market. Okay, so Amazon, little bit different, okay? Here's where it gapped up to. It's been up, it's been down, and right now it's back up. Okay, so it's green on the day. And let's look where it opened. It opened at 2017.46, currently at 2035.72, so it's up about $18 on the day. Let's go to BA, which is Boeing. Okay, Boeing we talked a little bit about in our private live stream with the premium community at thesimpletradinglife.com yesterday. So yesterday, look at the move. Look at the strong move. It ended up like $24 yesterday, and 15 of it was actually during the day. Some of it was this gap here. The rest of it was this move up during the day. Why is that significant? Because Boeing had negative news yesterday. They lost a huge contract that was like 11 or $12 billion. A company canceled a contract, and normally that would send price reeling, right? It would send price the other direction. But the market was so strong yesterday that Boeing followed the market and just moved up throughout the day. That's why you cannot have preconceived notions of what a name is going to do. And one of the most critical things is that you have to understand what is the overall market doing, because it's going to drag, and when I say drag, up or down, it's going to drag about 80% or more of the total names out there in the same direction it's going. Okay, so yesterday the market was strong to the upside, and even though Boeing had negative news, Boeing was strong to the upside. Anybody who would have seen the news catalyst and went short at open would have been trapped. Okay, if they had poor risk management, they would have been crushed, right? Okay, if they had good risk management, maybe they got stopped out for a small loss, okay, or a bigger loss, depending on where their stop was. Okay, but today we gapped, it flushed, and now it's going to the upside. All right, we haven't had any alerts go off yet, so we're just going to keep looking at a few names. Here's Baba. Okay, BABA gapped up, flushed down, now going higher. And let's go back. I'm going to look at the market real quick. I wonder if the market, our alerts haven't went off, but let's see if it's moving up yet. Nope, not yet. Okay, so we ended that first 30-minute candle as a spinning top, which we know means indecision. And right now, even though this number has been increasing so far, the overall market is just pretty indecisive, fairly flat. It's actually below opening price level. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's come back and look at some other names. Okay, Biogen. Okay, Biogen gapped up, went up, has come back down, and now it's actually starting to move lower. It's still up on the day, okay, but starting to move lower. We'll look to see if we see any kind of trends. Okay, Beyond gapped up, went up, now has flushed down and is going lower. CGC. This is the only weed stock that I currently watch. I used to have two of them until Tilray completely collapsed and I took it off of my list. Large gap, ended as a doji. See that? Indecision. Right now, just slightly red. Okay, but it also had a nice gap up. In fact, let's look at this gap. We closed at 1434. We opened at 1530, so that's $1 gap. That's a big gap for CGC. Okay, Crowd. Okay, here's Crowd. Okay, opened relatively flat. Little bit of a gap up. Spiked up here to resistance at 6108. Flushed it straight back down, and right now hanging out here at the 20. This is the 20 SMA. This is the 200 SMA. The Dow Jones Diamonds, right? This is the ETF of the Dow Jones. Okay, gapped up, spiked up, down, back up, formed a spinning top, doji, and right now flat. Okay, so we are starting to see some consistency throughout some of these names. Here's Facebook. Facebook, large gap up, spinning top on the first candle. Okay, starting to go red, somewhat flat on the day. So we got a new viewer or two. Let's look at gold. We have two gold names that we follow. The first one is GDX, the Gold Miners Fund. All right, and it gapped up, sold down to support here at 2601. It bounced a little bit, but now it's going red again. So gold, so far red on the day. GDX, which is the Gold Miners Fund. This is GLD, the ETF for gold. Gap down. Okay, so gold is weak today compared to the market, right? Gap down, sold down to support right here at 154.59, and currently is right here at the 20 simple moving average. So that's something to keep in mind if you're somebody who trades the precious metals, right? Gold is weak today so far. Google gapped up. Okay, we've had moves in both directions, currently red. Here's where it opened. Notice it opened it right at resistance. So what do we know when that happens? What typically occurs is you get a move down, and that's what we had. Okay, so currently red. IWM, this is the small caps of the market. Okay, gapped up, tried to go up, and now has turned around and is selling off. Okay, IWM. A lot of people like to trade IWM. I don't trade it that much, but I do watch it. And the reason they like to trade it, it's affordable. Okay, it's only for an ETF, it's only in the low 100s. Okay, Microsoft. I've seen some people who were looking to go long today on Microsoft. All right, So look what's occurring. What did I say right at the very beginning? Had to be careful of a possible gap and fade situation today. So I saw lots of people who were saying they were going long on Microsoft today. All right, there's their gap up. And if they entered long right there, they're underwater, right? By, let's look here, opened at 169.65. It's currently at 167-ish, right? So it's down $2.50 since open. Look at the candles on the screen. Okay, that's a pretty big move to the downside. So those people who were bullish on Microsoft, they're underwater, right? They're in trouble. That's why I said you got to be careful. Just because you saw something coming in, okay, we were strong yesterday. We were strong in the overnight session. We were strong in the pre-market, but like I said, had to be careful of a gap and fade situation. That's exactly what's happening right here on Microsoft. Okay, Netflix. A couple more people joining us. Welcome. Please make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and definitely turn on your notifications bell. You'll be alerted anytime we go live. We're just going through some popular names right now. Okay. Similar situation here. Not much of a gap up, okay? Opened up relatively flat, but Netflix selling off. It's fading. It has been strong the last couple days though, right? From here all the way up to there is about a $23 move in the last day and a half, okay? Now it's fading. We probably look for it to maybe catch some support right here around the 20 or the 369.21 level. Good morning, Martin. Good morning, Cathal. Good morning, Sunny. Getting a lot of our regulars joining us. Just going through the popular names right now. And you guys who are just joining us, what we're talking about, those of you from my premium community at thesimpletradinglife.com, you know what I warned of this morning, the potential for a gap and fade. And we're starting to see that on some of these names. Okay, we just looked at it on Microsoft. I'll go back real quick for those of you who just joined us. There were a lot of people who were very bullish on Microsoft this morning. I saw a lot of people on Twitter giving out trade ideas, trade recommendations, or saying what they were going to do, long and strong on Microsoft. Well, here's your classic gap and fade, right? We've been moving up last couple days, right? Been moving up. We were ranging, then we moved up the last couple of days, and now here we are. We got our gap. So we closed here, opened here, and fade. That's what it is right there. Gap and fade. And you guys in my room, you know exactly that I warned of this earlier. Okay. Northrop Grumman, this is the defense contractor. Gap and fade. Gap and fade. See that? Okay, again, okay, I didn't really see anybody talking about this name this morning, okay, but it's also been strong. It's been strong since over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row of strength. And then we get the big gap up and we're fading away. NVIDIA. Okay, first of all, okay, the market is starting to fade. That's why our alert just went off. Okay, give me a second here. This should have been cut off clear over here. Okay. All right, here we are on NVIDIA. What do we got? A gap and fade. Okay, let's go back and look at the market because we had the alert go off. And we already know, because I saw the alert, that we are fading. Okay, here we go. Now, does that make sense? It does, just based on what we've been looking at, right? All these other names in the market are fading. Okay, so the market's probably fading as well. So here we are. We've already taken out the bottom of the opening range, which is this first 30-minute candle, okay, because that's what I normally view and trade, is off of the 30-minute. Anybody who's new in here, I like the 30-minute because it's a good mix between shorter time frames and longer time frames, and I think it gives great fluidity of movement. Okay, so it shows you in a very calm way, there's very little noise, how the market's moving. Makes nice structure levels, things like that. Okay, so if it continues down, the first area that we would look to see if it catches any sort of support would be the 20 SMA right here below. Okay, if it would break through there, then you would look at this little level here where it rallied up, based, and then rallied from. Okay, now this is also a basing area in confluence with the 20. Okay, so we would see, does it catch some sort of support here? Now, if it just blasts right through there, that shows that sellers have a lot of strength. Okay, when you have several factors, in this case, if you came up here, you had a rally, base, rally. Okay, and then you look over here and you also have the 20 SMA, so you would have a couple of things that should offer some support. Now, this wick right here should have offered some support. Okay, it was able to break through there. So if you start breaking through multiple levels of support, 1, 2, 3, if it breaks through all of those, that's showing some real strength by the sellers. So let me put an alert just below here. And if it goes off, then we're going to know at that point that we have strength to the downside. There's that. I'm going to also bring this one down to basically opening price level. That'll let us know if price starts to reverse to the upside. Okay, right now, still showing strength to the downside. And we'll see if our alert goes off. All right, let's get back to looking at some names. Hopefully you guys, especially if you're new, you're starting to see how we can just look at the market, right? And look and see the consistency between the different names. And they're following the market, right? So if the market's going down, it's going to drag down 80 to 85 to 90 to sometimes 95% of the names. Okay, let's see, where did we leave off? NVIDIA, I believe. So let's look at Pepsi. We're just moving through the list. And those of you who just joined us in the last few minutes, we are going to spend some time sometime during this session talking about scalping, looking at some various time frames and how you might use multiple time frames. All right, here we are. This is Pepsi. So Pepsi gapped up, showed some strength on this first candle. Look at that. Okay, showed some strength. That's probably, let me look real quick. High 90. It's about a $1.80 move, which is a strong move, because again, all you have to do to know if this is a strong move, just look at the candles on the screen. Here's your average size candles through here, right? And then here's some of your bigger candles. Okay, this is one of, not the biggest, but one of the bigger. So you know that's a strong move for Pepsi. But then what has happened? Now it's reversing and it's selling off. Here's the Qs. This is the NASDAQ, right? Big gap up, right? And now it's fading, just like the market. Big gap up, now it's fading. Now the market didn't have a big gap up, but the market's fading. But most of the names we're looking at look similar to this. Look at that. I mean, that's a pretty strong fade for the Qs. Regeneron. The president actually mentioned Regeneron by name in his press conference yesterday, but not getting much help. Okay, gapped up, small gap up, went up here to resistance at 508.66, and then has been selling off. This is really early. We've got a little bit less than 16 minutes to go on this candle. Okay, if it ends as a resting candle, then we would expect more downside movement on the next candle. All right, there we go. The market is still fading. That's what that alert was. That's telling us that it has broke below. We don't know if it's going to hold, but it has broke below the 20 and this base right here. These three candles, actually 4 candles, these 4 candles and the 20. It's broke below. Now we have to see if it holds. See how it's retracting right now? Okay, so when we say we need to either break and hold or clear and hold, that's what we mean. Sometimes price will poke its head below a level, okay, but then it'll retrace back and then it'll start going the other direction, okay, because this is where the sellers started to come in, excuse me, the buyers, because we're moving down. But if we break and hold, that means we break the level in here, and then the candle closes below there, so we've held, and then we look for one of two things, either a further flush or then a break, retest, and go. So that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. Market continuing to flush. All right, so the next level of possible resistance would be down right here where we had this rally, base, rally. Even though it's one candle, okay, we would look somewhere in this area here for potential resistance. Let me put an alert. That way we'll just be able to still look at other things. Okay, put an alert here, and then if this alert goes off, we will know it's continuing its strength to the downside, right? And we already have an alert up here. In fact, I'll drag that down to this level here. It gives us an idea. We can keep our eye on the market. Okay, we'll go back to looking at some other names. Let's look at Roku. Okay, Roku, gap and fade. Gap and fade. Closed here yesterday, opened here, just fading away. All right, so again, I warned of this in our community, in our premium community. So my premium members who are in here, they know exactly what I said, what I warned in our room. And the main two reasons, let's just talk about it. The main two reasons is the strength that we've had to the upside in the past few days, trading days, and the fact that it's a Tuesday, which we get a lot of turnaround Tuesday. So the market, when I say the market, I'm talking about big money, all right? They will typically take a Tuesday and know that retail sees these strong moves, right? This was Friday, this was Monday. Hey, we're going up. We're going up. Just like I was telling you, everybody was so bullish on Microsoft this morning. You know, I saw several trading services and trading rooms giving Microsoft as a bullish trade idea or alert this morning. All right, we were the exact opposite. Be careful. Be careful. Watch for a gap and fade. Watch for this. Right, and that's exactly what we've had. Okay, Roku, same boat here. Same boat. Now, here was an important level. See this up here? See how if you come over here, this wick came almost right up to it, right? We couldn't get above there. Couldn't get above there. Why is that important? It's because it's a sharp pivot. See this? See this sharp pivot? Okay, we also had this formation down and around and back up. We know when we get this, we call this a slow curve. We know when we get this, when you typically get back up near the top of the level, the first thing that happens, it's usually one of two things. Either a dramatic sell-off back down near the origin of the move, or you'll get a sell-off that'll round and then come back up and form a cup and handle, which is typically a bullish sign that you're going to go higher, that you will break this. Okay, right now, we don't have any indication of that. Right now, it is just flushing, right? It is just selling off. This candle alone is already a $4 candle to the downside. Just this candle right here. Okay. Continue looking at some other things. Let's look at shop. I had told some folks yesterday in our community that somebody that I follow, he's a big time investor. For many, many years. He was famous. It's been a long time ago that he did this, but he was famous because he took, I think the exact number was $11,000, and he turned it into 18 million in like less than 2 years. And anyway, but this guy's totally different. He trades long term. He basically only trades trends. And he was, I think it was yesterday, he was in his Twitter feed, he was talking about how he didn't want nothing to do with Shop right now. They made a bunch of money on Shop and they're out, and he's like, I really don't want nothing to do with Shop right now. But here we go again. Gap, fade. So far, it caught a little bit of support right here at the 20. Gap, fade. SPY, which is basically going to be the mirror image of ES. Okay, but the price is going to be 1/10 the price. Gap, fade. We're right here at a support level, 270.60. Okay, we're just above there. Caught a little bit of support right there. But we got our gap and our fade. That's on SPY. Tesla, very, very popular name. Okay, look what we had here. Gap, pushed up with some strength, and now turning around and fading. Turning around and fading. So that's Tesla. Twitter. I've seen a lot of people very negative on Twitter, but just like the market, again, look at this over the last few days. Fairly strong move, and we got our little slow curve formation here. All right, so you can see it's back up here to kind of where this started, back up in here. So it would make sense that it's going to do one of those two things I just talked about. It's either going to have a dramatic sell-off, or it's going to come down somewhere, maybe around here, catch support, curve back up, and then could be bullish, right? But we have to keep in mind, what is the overall market doing? What is the overall market doing? So whenever we're trading any individual stock, one of the first and most important bits of information we have to have is, what is the overall market doing currently? Because that's going to dictate what's happening with the majority of names. So the reason I keep bringing up Microsoft is when I saw everybody being bullish on it. Let's go back to Microsoft. Okay. They might have had some very technical reasons for being bullish. They, whatever they were, okay, whatever their reasons were, okay, but look what it's doing. The market is selling off, Microsoft is selling off. So even though you may have had a technical reason or even a fundamental reason, right? Maybe they announced something. I don't pay as much attention. I do watch the financial news. I do pay attention to it. But when I say I don't pay as much attention to it, I don't make very many trading decisions off of news events, because price is going to go where it was supposed to go anyway, even if it gets a spike one way or the other, right? I'll just make something up. This isn't true, but Microsoft just got some big contract with the U.S. government, right? They're going to start buying all their computer equipment and software through Microsoft. Okay, if Microsoft's price was supposed to go down, okay, big money wanted it to go down, there still could be a spike in the price at that time, and then it'll just make that fade even harder when it does occur. You're not going to overcome what institutional money wants to do with something. You're not going to overcome it, even with a news catalyst. News catalyst will just move. It'll either accelerate it down to where it was going, or you may get a temporary spike and then it's really going to fall, because it's going to go where they wanted it to go. All right. But again, you can see it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many people were bullish on Microsoft today. It's still very weak. Gap and fade. Okay, back to the market. We're going to look at some other things as well. Okay, market is already dropped $5 just since we went to Microsoft. because it was at 2700 when we went to look at Microsoft. In the 60 seconds we were gone, it dropped $5. So it's still weak. Still weak. Let's look at this candle. We've got less than 6 minutes to go. Currently, this candle is already down about, let's see, that's 10, 40, about $47 or so. $46, $47, just this candle. Just this candle. Let's look at oil. I know there are several people who like to trade oil. This is the CL oil futures. Not much going on right now. Okay, now let's think about it from a common sense perspective. Is there a reason that we're ranging right now after we had all this volatility? Okay, all this volatility that we've had recently. Is there a reason that we're ranging right now? Yes. Okay, why would that be? Okay, because right now there's no clear-cut deal between Russia and Saudi Arabia. When we had the last big spike, what was that, $6 or $7, which is enormous for oil. That was because President Trump announced that he was maybe going to get involved in the negotiations and try to help broker a deal, and oil just spiked huge. Then it had a big fade. It had, if I remember right, it was about a $3 fade. And just to give you guys context who don't trade oil, right? Every dollar, if you have a contract of oil, every dollar is $1,000 for each contract. So 1 penny gets you $10, one way or the other. You're either making it or losing it. Okay, but right now, oil's sort of in a holding pattern. Okay, there was supposed to be a meeting yesterday. It got called off between Russia and Saudi Arabia. So right now, oil's in a holding pattern until it knows, hey, what's going to happen? Are we going to get a deal? If they get a deal, right, price will spike. Another thing that's going on is people are wanting to know, is the world going to all join forces and cut oil production? Now that may sound a little counterintuitive, but the reason that would be important is because with the world economies basically shut down right now, there's no demand for oil. And when there's no demand for oil, the price craters. That's why we're down as low as we are. There's no demand. Okay, I've seen people posting, gas under $1 in certain places in the United States. The average around the country, I think they said, is somewhere in the mid, 130 to 160, somewhere in there. The last time I got gas around here, I want to say it was 129, something like that. I live outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So again, it's just in a holding pattern until it knows what's going to happen. So yes, it makes sense that it's in a range like this. Let's go back to the market. Looks like it's bounced just a little bit. Yep, see, caught a little bit of a bounce because it was almost completely red when we left. It was at $26.95, so it's up $6 since we went and looked at oil. Okay, does it make sense? Absolutely, right? Right here. Remember, I told you this would be another area that it would make sense that it could catch some support. Currently it is. That doesn't mean that it'll hold, right? Okay, it got through this area pretty easily, which had 2 layers, right? It had the 20 and it had this base. And in theory, this base should be stronger than this, but we've already had a pretty significant move to the downside. At some point, there needs to be a little bit of rest, unless all of a sudden we get a chaotic candle, and what we mean by that is you look for the biggest candle on the screen, which this is already, but you look for the biggest, and a chaotic candle is usually about 3 times bigger than that. That's what we mean by a chaotic candle. So if the biggest candle on the screen is a $40 candle, the chaotic candle might be a $100 candle when we're talking about ES here. All right, let's look at some Forex, and then we're going to start talking about scalping. Here's the Aussie dollar. Wow, look at this. Look how strong it's been over the last few days. Okay, came down here, sort of put in a double bottom here and here. Okay, get our W. Then it came up here, kind of curled around, and then boom, it's just shot to the upside. 1, 2, 2 days. Monday, Tuesday. Let's look here. That's 100. And then up here, it's about 150 pips in 2 days on Aussie US dollar. 150 pips. Let's look at some others. How about Euro GBP? Okay, sort of stuck. Look at this, sort of stuck in a range. From here, down, back up, back down, back up. Okay, came around, bouncing off the top, sort of stuck between these support and resistance levels. 0.8851 and 0.8745. Now, can you trade that? Absolutely, right? It's a 100 pip range. Yeah, you can trade that if you get the right signals. Let's go in a little bit closer, right? I'm trying to see here. Here we had an inside candle. We tried to barely get outside. We couldn't do it. We came down. We got outside and formed a hammer. Okay, there would have been a signal. And I like how it was right here at the 20. So if you take out the top of this hammer, you're also taking out the 20. And look at the move you got. Boom, it shot right up and actually went this high before retracing back. Okay, so from the top of here, 8816, it got up here, and then you'd probably sell as it started to retrace back. So let's just be conservative. About a 30 pip move, right? So there would have been a what we would call a price action scalp for 30 pips, right? A standard contract on most, not all, but on most currency pairs. It's going to get you $10 a pip. So if you had 30 pips, that'd be a $300 move in about an hour. About an hour. Okay, looking for these bounces. This is a chaotic candle. We just talked about chaotic candles. This is a chaotic candle, right? Much bigger than the biggest candles on the screen. Much bigger. So this was a huge gap down from where it closed right there. Okay, this was yesterday. So price opened down here, and on the first 30-minute candle, I'll guarantee you this is probably close to 100 pips. 87.35 to 88.20, so not quite, right? About 85 pips on one candle in less than 30 minutes. All right, let's look at Euro USD. These are all Forex currency pairs. Okay, strength to the upside. Do we have an idea of where it might go? We do, right? Okay, so we know just based on the pattern we see here, it's probably going to get up into this area up in here. Okay, form this nice slow curve that we were talking about, even somewhat of a W down here. So we know it's highly likely to get back up near the origin of the move. Then when it gets back up there, the likelihood is we'll see either a strong drop or somewhat of a curve like this and then goes higher. All right. Trying to give you guys some ideas on stuff you could be looking for potential trades. Let's look at GBP USD. Same thing. Look at this. Okay, sort of a W pattern, right? We had this one spike down here, but it's already getting back up here. And now let's take a little closer look. Okay, notice it's back up to the origin of this move, and what is it doing currently? Selling away. Selling away. Now, right now, that's not very strong, right? Down, back up, down. You know, this is green as of right now. But we would look for one of those two things, a strong move away, or one where we come down somewhere, catch some support, curl around, and then go higher. And let's look at the pound yen. A lot of people like to trade the pound yen. Let's look here. Structure, back down, now moving back up. Nothing really out of the ordinary. I'm trying to see if I see anything that would have jumped out at me right off the top of my head. I don't. Making some nice structure though, now working its way up. Okay, but nothing really stands out to me there. Okay, we are forming a little bit of a rally base drop here. If this turns around and continues lower, this would be a nice supply area to draw in. Okay, just coming back over to make sure this wasn't something taking out something else. But we have our rally base. That's a strong drop. That's a nice candle there if this continues lower. Now we won't want to draw this in if this candle starts to come back and gets way up in here. Why? Because that shows us the sellers really weren't that strong. If the sellers were really strong, which creates a supply area, this would continue down. Okay, big candle, at least a medium red candle. It'd be okay if it wicked up a little bit as long as it pushes back down. And it's got 24 minutes on this candle. It could really push down, you know, significantly. But you want to see a strong move away. The move away is more important than the move up. But we like rally base drops for supply, and then you like drop base rallies for demand. Okay, those are going to be your strongest levels. Those will be your strongest levels. And we'll look at just another couple. Let's look at US CAD. Okay, it's kind of fallen away here, right? Last 2 days, see this? Okay, so what happened? We came up here, we formed supply. I have my alert set, and I'll have to drag that across there. Rally, base, drop. Rally, base, drop. So that's why we formed supply here. Let me drag it across. 42,351, because it'll probably be a while before it gets back up here. 42. There we go. Okay. So just what I had talked about before. I'll close in on it so you can see. Okay, here's our rally. Gaps are the strongest thing you can have. Rally, base, these candles right here, and then drop. Strong candle, okay, fairly strong. It got weaker. Okay, but that's going to be a decent supply area there. You'd like to see candles like this, 2 or 3 of them, before you saw any basing. Or, you know, here's a basing area here. We dropped, we based, and we started to drop again. But that's a fairly strong supply area. And let's look at the dollar yen. Okay, we've been moving up. Okay, we came down. Now we've been moving up, making structure on the way up. Let's get a little closer. Now we're sort of ranging. Okay, ranging, but to the downside, you could almost, let's see, I'm going to do it like this. You could almost say that it's forming a little bit of a flag, and this would be what? This would be a bull flag, right? Okay, I don't trade, you know, many of these, but a bull flag is when price is moving up, then retraces back a little bit, and then if you can break the top here, it continues higher. Because typically, whatever direction you came from, typically, they say it's going to break and continue that same direction. All right, so I just drew that in so you could see it, right? That's what they would call a bull flag, and you see how it's kind of trending in there, just bouncing back and forth. and you would look for it to either break here or break here. If you extended these, I'll just do it so you can see, because I know a lot of people do like to trade breakouts. Okay, so if you broke through here or you broke through here, you could look to go long or short. All right, we'll leave those on there because next time we come back and look at it, it might even be a day or two. We'll see where did it break out and how strong was the move. Okay, let's take a look at the market, and then we're going to talk about scalping for a little bit. Okay, the market right now looks like a little bit of a break, retest, and are we going to get a go? Break of this 20 and also this base, break, retest where you just broke through, and now is it going to go? It doesn't have to be on this candle, right? It could be on the next candle. We still got 20 minutes, but it could happen on this candle. Come down, here's your low, comes back to the area where it broke through, which is an important level. Could be a support level, can be a moving average, could be a basing area. You break through it, you come back to retest it, and then you go. All right, and if it goes, typically it's going to have some strength behind it. So what I want to do is I'm going to move this alert up a little bit, just under here, maybe. Put it just under there. And then if that alert goes off, we'll know it's trying to go. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about scalping here for just a little bit. So in our community, the Simple Trading Life community, and if you're new and you don't know anything about us, go to simpletradinglife.com. We have both a free and a premium room in there. You could check us out for free by just clicking on the free chat room button. But we scalp and we day trade. Now we do some swing trades in there. This just hasn't been a great environment for swing trading because of the extreme volatility. And you can get really, really trapped holding things overnight right now. Okay, even for short-term swings, right? Because the moves are so volatile. So when it comes to scalping, there's a lot of misconceptions out there that scalping is for uneducated traders. Scalping is for people who are extremely impatient. Scalping is for those who are just looking to nickel dime, just make a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay, there are a lot of people, professional traders, who make an incredible living doing nothing but scalping. And when I say incredible, I'm talking about guys making 500,000, a million or more per year, and they do nothing but scalp. Okay, let's take these misconceptions sort of one by one. A lot of people think that scalping is for uneducated traders. Again, those in my community, especially my premium community, I'm laughing and they know I'm laughing. There is so much that really goes behind the scenes to be a good scalper or a good day trader. We have a premium lessons section. Premium lessons. There we had an alert go off on Pepsi. Pepsi's actually moving up right now. You can see the market's moving up too. Okay, so we'll maybe check that out here in a minute. So back to scalping. So right now we're really doing a deep dive into price action trading, which is what we primarily do. Price action, supply and demand, support and resistance. That's primarily what we trade in the Simple Trading Life community. On price action, there's already 10 pages of notes in our premium lessons channel, and there's going to be more coming just on trading price action. For those of you who don't know what price action is, that's basically trading the candles themselves and how the candles act, right? We know that candles are only going to do certain things. They're reliable, meaning we know when candles start to do something, we can pretty much predict. I hate the word predict, but you can pretty much predict what's coming next. So learning all the nuances of that, there's a lot of information behind that. Okay, there's a lot of information. Like I said, there's already 10 pages of notes in there just on this one topic, and there's more coming. There's going to be more than 10. So we know when it comes to scalping that it's not for uneducated traders. Okay, another misconception, we're tackling these one by one, is that scalping is for impatient traders. First of all, there should be no such thing. If you're an impatient trader, you have no business trading. I don't care if you're scalping or day trading or swing trading or investing. If you're impatient, you need to work on that first. Okay, a lot of traders who tend to gravitate towards scalping, they do that because they are impatient, but then they find out something very interesting. Scalping sometimes requires more patience, more than swing trading or longer term investing. Why? Because when you're scalping, there are so many setups that go off every day, and your job as a professional day trader or a professional scalper is to pick out only the absolute best. Now, that may mean that today you take 10 trades, tomorrow you take 1 or 2, the following day you take 7, the next day you take 3, the next day you might take 12, and I'm talking about over the course of a day. Okay, it takes a lot of patience to be able to do that. Okay, now some days when we're on these live streams, you'll hear there's just dings going off all the time. Those are alerts I have set. Now, I can't actively trade while I'm trying to teach you guys because you're just too distracted. You're just too distracted. I occasionally, if I'm already in a trade when we start a live stream, I may exit a trade while we're on here. But while we're on a live stream, I'm focused on trying to help you become better. But when I am scalping, it takes a lot of focus and a lot of patience because alerts will go off sometimes depending on what's happening in the market. The market may be moving quickly and alerts are going off like crazy. The other day on one of our live streams, I obviously wasn't able to show them all, but I had like 13 alerts go off in the first half hour or so of the market. 13. I can't trade 13 things. So, as a scalper, as a professional day trader, you have to learn patience to know, hey, I can't take all of these. And you have to be able to think quick on your feet, do some quick math, simple math, okay, nothing hard. Quick, simple math on if this happens, is this trade worth taking? Is my reward to risk worth it? And is there a good place I can place a stop, a nice tight stop? And do my take profit targets allow me to make the kind of money that I would like to make on these trades? And if you can properly identify, just a few of those a day, you can make a really, really good living. Okay? So looking here at the market, and we're going to talk about time frames on scalping here in just a second. Okay, looking at the market, look what's happened, right? Break, retest, and what are we doing? We're almost to my alert here. We're trying to go. Break, retest, go. If it takes out this and starts to move lower, that's exactly what's just occurred. It's one of my favorite patterns. All right, now, again, we still have to get through this area. So now I'll put the alert down here. Okay, now we got to get through here. So that's our next area where we could have some possible resistance. I put it just below there. You see it's trying to work its way down. If we get below there, then we're highly likely to get to this level, 26.6375. Okay. Maybe even right to the bottom of this candle. That would be a highly likely area that we would get to. Okay, if it would break through there, then you'd see this little basing area here. You get through there, you're highly likely to get here. Okay, you guys see that? You see how easy it is to pick the targets out? Right? My folks also know that the candle structure, the way these candles are set up, This is a good setup for a strong move to the downside. And my folks from the Simple Trading Life community, they know this, right? Small, these are all small wicks. Even if they were small to medium, like this is a medium wick here. This is a bigger wick, right? Longer topping tail or bottoming tail. But when you have candles in a nice diagonal formation with small to medium sized wicks on them, once price starts to move, it tends to accelerate price, right? We would say that this is a setup that could produce a fairly large move to the downside, because there's really nothing over here significant other than these little basing areas that could slow price down. When you take these little wicks out, we talk about this a lot. Okay, when you take these little wicks out, there's typically stops just on the other side of them. And when you take that stop out, it actually bumps price forward, right? It bumps price forward because it's further contributing to the sell, right? Right now, sellers are in control, obviously. Okay, so sellers are in control, and now you start taking out stops here, 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 here. You see that? You start taking those out, those can accelerate price down. So one of the very first live streams that I did several weeks ago when we started this was somebody had asked me, how does a big candle form? And it just so happens, it was coincidence, I was showing them in real time the kind of a pattern that you look for. And then if the move starts to go that way, I said, here's what could happen. About 30 minutes later, after we covered it, that's exactly what happened. It was to the upside, if I remember right, and we had a large candle form because of the right kind of candle structure. It was to the upside. So they were diagonal this way with small to medium sized wicks. And once it took out that first one or two wicks, that candle just kept going, and we watched it in real time. And every time it would take one out, it would bump up another, $1, $2, $3, sometimes $4. Then it would get to the next one and it would take it out and it would bump it up a little bit more. That's how you create these big moves. That's how you create these big moves. That's important to know if you're trying to scalp, right? So if you're looking for downside moves, okay, I'm just making this up right here. This is what we would call an outside candle of this, meaning it took out both sides. So now we know the range is expanding. All right, I'm getting into stuff that's way over some people's heads. Those in my room, they're starting to understand it. Okay, once the range starts to expand, now if you take out one side of the range that's already expanding, you can expect an even bigger move. And what are we getting? Right? You see this? Okay, you're getting an even bigger move. So start right here. Okay, if we come over here, all right, here's this candle. I'm trying to do this one at a time here. So there we go. Then we get this candle that's took out both sides of this. So this becomes an outside candle. And what does that do? Okay, I'm talking in terms that maybe some of you don't understand, but it expands the range. Get that? It expands the range. And this was the range, right? Based on this candle. So now we've expanded it to here and to here. So now you're looking, okay, well, if we can take one of these sides out, it's going to expand the range even more. And we know based on history, you can go back through history on any chart and just look at candles. And when you start to see this kind of stuff, okay, and the market's going lower, and we're going to see it here in a second, we know that when we start to see this kind of stuff, what's going to happen? Boom! We took out the bottom. You see that? The range expands more. All right, let's go to the next candle. Okay, what's happening? Now we're taking out this, we're going even more. We know how likely that is. You see what we're doing? We're expanding the range. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. And we know based on this candle structure over here that a strong move to the downside once it starts, right? So we knew what was critical. We knew that we had to get through this basing area and this 20 SMA. And once we got through there, we came back, we retested it, and right now we're in the middle of a break, retest, and go. Common pattern. File that away if you want to make some money. File that away. It happens all the time. The people who are in here right now that are in my community, they know. And they know this is one of my favorite patterns because it just plays out so often. Okay? So we just had our alert go off that we just took out the bottom of this basing area. Okay, now it is pulling back a little bit. Okay, so that's common. See if we come across there. See how it's pulling back into the basing area? So we broke it, but we haven't held it yet. We got less than 5 minutes to go on this candle. We broke it, but we haven't held it yet. So let me do this. I'll set another alert. I love alerts. They just keep you in the loop of what's going on. Okay, so now if we continue down and take this alert out, we know that we're highly likely to get to this level, 2663.75, and maybe even right to the bottom of that candle, which is 2660.25, and so on and so forth. And if you take this wick out, you're likely to get down here. If you take that out, you're likely to get down here, and so on and so forth. Now, right now, it's still caught up in this basing area. Still caught up in this basing area right now. We broke it, but we haven't been able to hold it yet. But we have our alert set just in case. And I'm going to keep dragging this down lower. All right, so if we get all the way back up near the 20 here, that will let us know. See how it's moving its way back? Okay, see how it's moving its way back? So it's telling us it's getting some support here. There's some buyers trying to step in. We're not saying they're going to be successful, but they're trying to step in. We knew this would be an area, just like this was up here. Okay, so I told you we would talk about time frame in relationship to scalping. There's a lot of people who think to be an effective scalper, you have to be on the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, or no higher than the 5 minute. Totally disagree. Okay, I primarily scalp and day trade. And let's define what scalping is. Scalping means you're typically going to be in a trade. If you asked a professional scalper, they would say 5 to 15 minutes. 5 to 15 minutes approximately. Okay, I say about 5 to 30. Because I trade on a 30-minute time frame, right? So if you're going much over 30 minutes on a scalp, especially if you're trading a higher time frame like a 30, like I do, okay, now you're probably in the trade too long if you're actually looking to scalp. A day trade, that's going to be more like 30 minutes to an hour out to several hours, right? You're anticipating that the move might take a little bit longer, but you're still going to enter and exit the trade on that same day. But we're specifically talking about scalping today. So you want to look for trades that you think are going to develop in that 5 to 15, 5 to 30 minute time frame. They may happen much quicker. Okay, I personally, let's just look at some of these time frames. I personally don't like, okay, this is a 1 minute time frame. Okay, this is 1 minute. So this is all the candles that have been occurring since we opened. Okay, since we opened. To me, there's just a lot there. Okay, even if you go to the 2 minute. Okay, here's the 2 minute. Here's the 3 minute. I'm just going through them, letting you see them. Okay, a little bit better. Okay, that 3 minutes a little bit better. Now the 5 minute. And I'm just telling you from my personal experience, I personally almost don't go lower than a 5 minute. If I'm going to trade something right at market open, which is rare, and I'll talk about that in a second, I sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes I'll use a 2 minute just for the first 5 or 10 minutes of the market open. and then I'll switch over to something else. Okay, but I very rarely trade market open. And why is that? Okay, a lot of manipulation, a lot of volatility happens during that first 5, 10, 15 minutes. I think, this is my own opinion, and it's what I teach in my community, I think that early you're doing recon, right? Like military, you're doing a recon mission to determine where the highest quality trades are going to be. Now, can you take a trade, write it open, and be successful? Yeah, you can. But sometimes it's a little bit of, you're kind of flipping a coin. So I would say if you ever take a trade right at open, you better have some nice tight stops, because price can get manipulated against you very, very quickly. You may have a fundamental setup and a technical setup, and price is moving your direction, and you think, sellers are in control. I'm just making a scenario up. And all these things seem to be going your way. That bell goes off, you enter a trade, and then what happens? Big money manipulates the market and goes exactly against you. They take price and spike it up higher. Then you freak out. You either get stopped out, or worse yet, you didn't have a stop, or you didn't have a tight stop, and now you're down a whole bunch of money. So then you're generally panicking to get out of the trade. You're trying to catch back up to get out of the trade. And then about the time you get out, they typically reverse it and go the direction you thought it was going to go in the first place. Happens almost every day. Okay? So that's one of the reasons I don't like to trade right at market open. You can, and that's where you would want to use possibly, like, say, a 2-minute or I hate using a 1 minute. I almost never, ever use a 1 minute. I might use a 2 minute, like I said, for maybe that first 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll switch to a different time frame. Because you'll see stuff happening quickly, but not too quickly. I hope that makes sense to everybody who's listening. So here's a 5-minute. Okay, 5 minutes better, but as you can see, each time frame that we go up, let's go to the 15 now. Each time frame that we go up, the price action gets smoother. Okay, here's the 15. See how much smoother it is? And now to the 30, which I trade. And there's a lot of people out there that say, well, you can't trade on anything higher than, say, a 15. You can't scalp, I should say. Absolutely you can. I do it all the time. That's what I primarily trade. I primarily scalp and day trade. 95% of my trades are scalps and day trades. Okay, now look at this. See how much smoother that is? Okay, and we did end up as a spinning top, which is a candle of indecision. Okay, the likelihood, nothing's 100%, the likelihood is that we will probably continue lower. Why? That's the direction we're moving when we get the candle of indecision, which ends up being somewhat of a resting candle. And now if you take the bottom of this out, you should look for a move similar in magnitude to this candle right here. If we take the bottom out right now, and when I say right now, I'm talking about on this candle. Okay? Vice versa, if you take the top out, you might then start looking for a move back up to the top of here or even to opening price level. But the likelihood is you're more likely to take the bottom out and continue the move down. We've already got our alert set, so we're going to see. All right, so going back to scalping. Let's just take a name. I'm going to pick any name at random, okay? AMD. All right, AMD. We had to gap up. Okay, look at the opening candle. I want to show you why I typically avoid it. Okay, look at that. Okay, we know it ended in a spinning top, which is indecision, but look at that whipsaw back and forth. Is that easy to trade? No. Now, if you're lucky, and I'm telling you, you'd be somewhat lucky. If you're lucky, and I think it spiked higher to start off with, if I remember right. if you had a long bias and you entered right off the bat, if you're lucky, you were maybe able to catch some of this and get out before it started to reverse. Because when that reversed, it happened quickly. And if you didn't have a stop, you probably weren't going to be able to get out until it got back down into here. And all your profits gone by then. You might even be red, depending on if you were playing options or you were playing shares. So I know some big money traders that are professional scalpers. That's all they do. And in fact, many of them only trade the first hour of the day and they're done. 3, 4, 5 trades in that first hour, hour and 15 minutes, they're done for the day. They may come back and try to scalp a little bit later in the afternoon, but typically this is what they're looking for. And I can just tell you, if they enter right when the market opens and they have a bias one way or the other, they already have a tight stop placed and they do not look for some kind of a big move. So let's just look here. We opened up at 48.90. The high was 49.56. That wasn't even a dollar, right? They were probably looking, if somebody was in this, and I'm talking about some of the people I know, they were probably looking to catch 30, 40, maybe 50 cents, and then they're just out. They just get out. Then they see what happens from there. They made a little bit of profit. Okay, that's if it goes their way, right? If it went the other way first, then they just get stopped out for a little bit of a loss. Okay, but they look to just catch a small part of the move. Then they start to see, okay, what's price really doing? And they're going to have a whole bunch of factors that tell them whether they think they know what price is doing. Then if they start to have a long side bias based on price action, they start going in heavier and they start looking to try to catch bigger moves. Sonny, are you talking about ES? Are you talking about ES when you say the bottom wick? I just want to make sure that we're looking at the right thing here. So are you referring to ES when you're asking me if the bottom wick gets taken out? So we have our spinning top here. And if this is what you're asking about, if the bottom wick here gets taken out, okay, perfect. Okay, if the bottom wick here gets taken out, you're looking at right around this 2663.75 down to maybe 2660, right around there. Okay, that would be your T1, and then your T2 would be like the bottom of this candle, which is 2632.75. That'd be your T2 if the bottom of this gets taken out. Okay, right now, you know, it's going to the upside, not with any kind of strength yet. And again, if you take the top of this out, then I'd probably be looking somewhere near the top of this candle. Okay, for me, you know I'm conservative. So if the top of that got taken out, I would probably be looking at an exit just before the top of this candle. And so for those of you who've joined us and you might be saying, well, why there and not up here? Okay, I like to get out slightly before where you think price is probably going to go because you don't want to have anything bounce against you. Like this. See this over here? Okay, price comes up, it gets up here to this support level, and let's just say that your target was up in here and you wait too long, boom, that bounce goes against you, there goes all your profit. Goes all your, especially if you're playing options. All your profit just went right out the window. So I like to exit slightly before my target, easily get filled, lock in my profit, and I guard against getting these bounces. Right? So again, a hypothetical here, you start up, you take the top of this out. Okay, the target probably would be up here around opening price level, but I'd want to get out right near the top of this candle. That way I don't get up here, get to opening price level, and get some big bounce against me. So for those of you who might be new, that's what we're talking about. And so Sonny was also asking about targets. Before you enter a trade, you should always have take profit targets in mind. Does that mean you absolutely have to exit there? No. Okay, if you're trading something that allows you to have a trailing stop, you may get to a level and then throw on a trailing stop below it to see, hey, is it going to break or break and retest and go lower? And then you just trail it. Okay, I showed a trade, a Forex, a potential Forex trade yesterday during our private live stream, where if somebody would have had a 7 to 10 pip trailing stop, they would have made 90 pips in a couple of hours. And it never would have went against them. Okay, as it moved down, it never had any retrace more than a couple of pips. And that trailing stop, once you're in the trade and you get to maybe your first take profit level, which we call a T1, you throw on a trailing stop and then you just follow it. So let's just say, this is your T1 right here and it breaks through. And then your T2, is maybe here, this base, or maybe down here, wherever it is. Okay, if it breaks through there, maybe you take some of it off. If you've got 3 contracts, maybe you sell 2 and you have 1 as a runner. And you get down here and it seems like momentum's still strong. Okay, now I don't know if you can throw a trailing stop on here. All right, this is the E-mini futures, and I don't know if they let you. Thinkorswim doesn't let you, but there may be platforms that do. But let's just say you're trading an equity and you can throw a trailing stop on. Well, then when you get to like T2, just throw a trailing stop on and give yourself just a little bit of a cushion just in case there's some momentum and it keeps going. And then you can maybe catch a little bit more of the move. Okay, Cathal, absolutely. EuroCAD, that's what we're here for. EuroCAD, let's see. And then April 5th on the 30-minute chart. Well, I'm always on the 30-minute chart. Okay, so April 5th. So you're probably talking about this right here. Rally, base, drop. Rally, base, drop. Okay, so let's look. We just got to come back over here. Okay, what we're doing is we're looking to make sure that this didn't take out anything else. And it didn't, okay? This was a drop down. And really, you might have something up here above as well. That's a strong drop away, but really, you see all this? That's too much. That's too much. Okay, so you might even have something right up here. But let's go back to what you're asking about. Strong rally up. The gap makes it really strong. Then we base. Then we drop away. This candle, I'd like to see it be bigger. I'd like to see it more like this size. But we did have a decent drop away. Okay, so would this be an area up here? Yeah, most likely. I mean, we can draw this in. Okay, we'll draw this in. I'll even include that right there. You come up to the top, draw it across. We'll change the color here in a minute. You go to the top part, the highest point of your basing candles. Change this to pink. For me, you can leave it any color you want. I know people that do gray. I know people that do yellow. Okay, I like pink for supply and green for demand. All right, so then what we're looking for here and what Cathal is trying to anticipate is if price, okay, look, it looks like we're putting in a slow curve, doesn't it? All right, so if price comes around and comes all the way back up here, okay, we got 2 things working for us. Number 1, looks like a pretty decent supply zone, and number 2, if this does continue to be a slow curve pattern, we know that it's likely that when it gets to the top of the move, it's going to bounce down. Either strong, clear back near the origin, or it'll make a cup and handle. All right. So you got two things working for you there. Now it'll have to get through the 200 on the way up. The 200 is going to keep moving like this, and you're going to have to get through there. But if you can get through there and get back up here, you probably could anticipate to see a bounce down. Hey, Riz. Good to see you. Riz is one of our premium members at thesimpletradinglife.com. All right, so yeah, that was a good one to look at. And then you may also have an area right up here. Strong move up, okay? Rally, it's only a one candle base, but this is the area. This is how you want to see it leave an area. That is strong. Okay, so we're going to draw this one in too, above. All right, and then I'll end up dragging it across here in a minute. Let me change it to pink. Let me change it to pink. I always use the same colors. That's why sometimes I think I'm too picky when it comes to stuff like that. I don't think it really matters. But it's just how I've always done it. So, all right, now I'm going to drag this across. And where are we at there? 54.84. Okay, just for now. All right, so let's go back to the market because it looks like the market's starting to go up. Okay, you see that? We're getting right back up here. Now we still have the 20. Okay, we're right at the very top here. Right at the very top. You're welcome, Cathal. You're welcome. Hopefully that helped out a little bit. And like I said, you've got two things working in your favor there. And then, yes, that level right above, that'll come down the road, right? So you might get a bounce now out of that first zone and then get a bounce out of the second zone later. Okay, so we're back up to the 200. Excuse me, the 20. I don't know why I said the 200. That's the 20 simple moving average. And we're right here at the top of this spinning top. So we're going to see, are we going to have any strength to the upside now? Are the buyers trying to come back in? We don't know. Now, for those of you who've been with me a while, we also know we have the potential that you can end up with two resting candles in a row. Never more than two. Right? So let's say this also ends up like a spinning top. Then we start to go down. Yes, you can have that. Okay, the probabilities are always stronger on one. If you have two, they're a little bit less likely, okay, but not much. But if you start getting three or four or whatever, no. Okay, all your probabilities are gone. Then you're basically either basing or ranging at that point, depending on how many you get. Okay, but we still have less than 13 minutes to go on this candle. This could end up as anything, right? It could be a spinning top. It could break through here and start to become a wide-ranging green candle. It could reverse, take out the bottom down here and start to go lower. A lot of time left on this candle. Okay, high definition, UJ. UJ, let's look. I have nothing comes up for UJ. Or are you asking about something else? Did you cover UJ? Give me a little bit more clarity on that, and I'll look at anything you want me to look at. High definition. Okay, back to the market just for a second. Haha, gotcha. Dollar yen. Dollar yen. Okay, here we go. Yes, we did. You might not have been on here. That's why we have this drawn on. Okay, see this here? What this is we were showing that in the larger scheme of things, we're forming a bull flag. Okay, but you don't just assume that it's going to go higher. You got to see a break, right? You got to see it break out of here, or you got to see it break out of the bottom, which is going to tell us then that price is turning lower. Now, let's go in a little bit tighter. Okay, look what we're having right now. Okay, right up to the top. It's rejecting. okay, we may end up putting in a shooting star here. Okay, that could tell us, especially if we could get below the 20, that could tell us that we're about to head back over to this side of the channel. So high definition, I know you obviously weren't on earlier when we were covering this. That's why we drew this in. You can see, okay, we've been down, okay, from here to the top, back down to the bottom, back to the top. And now if we get something like a shooting star, especially if we can clear and hold the 20, then we might be likely to come all the way back down to this side of the channel. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out there. Yeah, we were looking at this because we know that this is one that a lot of people like. All right, but yeah, keep an eye on this right here. You got a little bit less than 10 minutes on this candle. If you form a shooting star, especially if you can clear and hold the 20, then you can start looking at the potential that you're going to get back across to this side of the channel. And we looked it up earlier. That would give you some, a decent gain. Let's look here. So let's just say it was from here, 92 down to 56. Not quite 40 pips, 30 some pips, right? All right. Now, let's see here. Let's look at the market first. Okay, still right there at the 20. In fact, let me put an alert above the 20. That way we'll know if we're actually breaking it. Okay. Now I have an alert above and an alert below, right? We've been right up to the top of this, but we can't break through the 20 right now. And as you can see, it's starting to ease back. We may end up with a second resting candle. We may end up with a second resting candle. Let's look at some of these other names again, see if there's any change. Here's Amazon. Okay, Amazon, gap, went up, sold off. Okay. And right now we're just right here at this level, at the 208.70. Let's look at Google. Okay, Google, gap and fade. All right, gap and fade. Looked like it tried to catch a little bit of support there, but now it looks like it's starting. We have this wick up, and now it looks like it's trying to push its way down. Let's go back and look at BA. Look at a few of these. Okay, BA, gap and fade. And it caught some support, went up a little bit, but now starting to fade again. BABA. Okay, now BABA, a little bit different. Okay, gapped up, faded a little bit, and now it looks like it's trying to round, the opposite of rolling over. It's getting a round bottom here, and it might want to work its way back up to this resistance level. It's possible. If it takes this out and holds it, then you're probably looking up near the top of this candle. Okay, that's BABA. So it looks a little bit different than some of these other names. Let's look at Facebook. Okay, Facebook, gap, fade. Right now, it came back up to this resistance level. That's where it's at right now. So look at gold and GDX again. See if we've got any change. Okay, it's trying to hold the 20 here. Up, down, up. Okay, but holding the 20. Let's look at GDX. Now remember, the gold names were weak this morning. Okay, same thing. Look, down, up, up. Okay, whipsawing back and forth. Those are our gold names. Let's look at Microsoft. Okay, here's Microsoft. Squeeze it in. Okay, we had our gap, our fade, and it's trying to catch some support. But here's what we got to look at. Is this a turnaround and back up, or is this just going to be structure? Okay, what do I mean by structure? lower low, lower high, lower low. Okay, this looks different than what we saw in BABA. I'll show you the difference. Let me go back. You got to know what you're looking at. Okay, BABA, you see these tails here? Okay, bottoming tail, bottoming tail, bottoming tail, and see how it's like rounding off and heading back up? That's different than what we see on Microsoft. Back to Microsoft. Okay, we have the sharp, we have the gap and fade. I want to show you how it's different. We have the gap and the sharp fade, and you see how it's flat with almost no wicks here? Now it's kind of working its way back up. It even tried to push down once. Okay, so this could be more likely that it's just putting in structure. Okay, we don't know that yet, but down, back up, maybe to around here, possibly, and then you work your way lower. Okay, you put in your lower low, lower high, lower low. But you notice how that is different than what we saw in BABA. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Let's look at Netflix while we're here. Okay, Netflix, right? We already know, we were talking about this earlier, we got the sort of the slow curve. It opened up relatively flat, but immediately sold off because look where it was at. Up here near the origin of the move. Makes sense. Okay, now we got some topping tails. We're using the 20 as support. Is it possible that it's going to curve around, make us a nice cup and handle, and then move higher? Possibly, but we got supply right above too. Can't ignore the supply. Can't ignore this up here. NVIDIA, just going back through some of these names. Okay, NVIDIA, gap and fade with not much of a recovery so far. These are almost more like resting candles than they are anything else. Spinning top, and right now we may end up with a second spinning top. If that's the case, we would almost expect to see it go a little bit lower. Let's look at Roku. Okay, here's Roku. Look at this. Slow curve. Back up to the origin of the move, which is up here. Then we had our gap and our fade right to the 20. Same thing. So far, not showing any strength to the upside. All we did was catch some support on the 20, but that's not strength to the upside. We would expect to see a bounce there. Strength would be we see this, and then the next candle immediately starts going up. Takes out the top of here and starts putting in some green to the upside. Okay, if this candle ends small, like a spinning top here, that again is still showing that's a bearish signal. Bearish. Okay, but you see that gap and fade. Shop. Okay, here's shop. Gap, fade, where to? The 20. How many names have we seen do this already? Okay, very similar. Very similar. Gap, fade down to the 20 on the 30-minute time frame. Tesla. Okay, Tesla, it actually had some strength. It gapped up, had some strength, then it sold off, and now it's sort of mellowing out here. And you can see what time it is. It's about 11:30. Right now is about the time you're going to start to see volume decrease, right? You know, they say like institutional traders, their lunch time is like noon to 1:30. So the closer you get to noon, volume really becomes almost non-existent. Then they start coming back about 1:30, and then about 2 o'clock or so, they start getting back into the swing of things for the end of the day. Twitter. Okay, do you guys notice? I hope you're seeing this. How many times have we already seen this pattern? Right? Okay, why? Because the majority of these names are moving the same way. The only thing that's different is their price. Okay, so we have some members in our room who have very small accounts. And we love working with people that have small accounts and trying to teach them how they can be effective and grow their account. So one of the bits of advice that I frequently give is look for names that, if you're an options trader, have low premiums, or names that are typically going to be between, say, $15 to $100, right in there. I don't like to get much lower than 10. You kind of get down into some of those names that they could be a little wonky. Not saying that you can't. All right, I know people that make money trading, anywhere from $2 to $10 stocks. Some people make a lot of money, but there are also a lot of risk involved down with those kind of stocks. But okay, you notice how many of these names have the same exact patterns. Same exact pattern. So all you got to do, find something you can afford. All right? Twitter is a $26 stock, but it has the same pattern as, a $260 stock or a $1,000 stock. Same exact pattern. It's following the market, sort of, right? Okay, within a relative degree of certainty. Now, if we squeeze this in, okay, gapped up, went up, sold off. Now it is trying to show a little bit of strength here. It's trying. See this? Okay, this was our candle, and it technically is an inside candle. It's completely contained in this range. So now you're going to watch and see, what does this candle do? Does this candle take out the high here and try to move up, or does it start to retrace and just whipsaw right now? I wouldn't be quite as excited if it started to go the other way in terms of a trade. Okay, now let's say that it starts to go up and it takes the top out here, and then next would be this wick over here. Then you could be looking over here. Okay, well, that would all be dependent on what the market's doing. And we just had an alert go off that says the market is starting to move up. I think that alert meant that we cleared the 20. Let's check it out. Well, not quite. We're almost above the 20. I must have had it set right at the 20. There, we're starting to clear it now. Okay, so now if we start seeing some upside here, all right, we already know that this could be a target, the top of this candle. If you were playing, that name we were just on, was that Twitter? I can't remember now. Let's go back. Yeah, so if you're playing Twitter, okay, now right now it's red, but if it takes the top of this inside candle out and you decide to go long, you'll have a nice stop, nice tight stop, and your target would probably be up in here, right? Up around the top of these candles, 26, say 26.35, and you're at 25.90-ish right now. Does that give you enough risk to reward to risk? Probably not for me. Okay, and right now it's going the other way. Doesn't mean it's going to continue, okay, but it's going the other way. Let's go back to the market. That's why I say you have to know what the market's doing. Okay, well, the market's starting to reverse. Okay, the market so far has not been able to break and hold above the 20. It's been up here once, twice, 3 times so far. So far. But has not been able to break and hold above the 20. If it does, up here is sort of your target area, right up in here, before you would get to opening price. Let's set an alert up here. That way we'll know if it does pop up there. And we already have an alert set below here. Okay, so if it starts to reverse back down, we'll know that as well. All right. We've got, maybe 5 or 10 minutes left before we wrap this up. Does anybody have anything they want me to look at, or does anybody have any questions on anything we've covered today? I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, or if there's something you want me to take a look at, We went through quite a few names, but obviously there may be names that you trade or look at that I don't have on my watch list. And while I'm waiting on that, we can see so far the 20 is acting as resistance. Okay, moving averages, I like the 20 and the 200 simple moving averages. People ask me, do I ever use VWAP? I personally don't use it much. I may occasionally throw it on a chart. However, I know a lot of people who do. Okay, now the difference between VWAP and your moving averages is that it's an acronym for volume weighted average price. Okay, so some people like that. It's just one line on your chart and you're either above it or you're below it. Sonny, yes, I do believe if we can get a break and hold above here, that it's highly likely that we make it up here around 27.33, 27.33.50. Okay, but so far we haven't been able to get a hold of it. Break and hold. We keep getting right up to it, 1, 2, 3, but we haven't been able to get above it and hold it. So, again, are we just putting structure in? Okay, lower low, lower high, and then go lower low. Those are the things we're thinking about, right? The two scenarios, and you should always have both scenarios in your mind. If you're newer, or even my existing people, both scenarios mean you have an upside scenario and a downside scenario. The upside scenario is right up here. Okay, break and a hold here, we're probably going to get up here. Okay, if we reject here, then we're probably going to put in a lower low, because at that point, then we start thinking, hey, we're probably just putting in structure. Even if we would get here and reject. And what is structure again? Lower low, lower high, lower low. That's what we mean by structure. You can see if we come back over here how we've been moving up. Let me squeeze it in. Okay, we've been moving up for quite a while. All right, this was all one move up. Then we sort of ranged sideways. Then we went up. Okay, higher high, higher low. Higher high, higher low. Higher high. Okay, a little bit of a lower low, but not much. Then we went higher high, higher low. And then here we are. Now, lower low. And if we don't break and go higher, it'll be a lower high, and then we look for the third leg. You have to have 3 legs to start signaling a possible change in direction. You'd have to have a lower low, lower high, lower low. That would look like this: lower low, lower high, lower low. That could signal that you're potentially ending this run that's been happening over the past several days of trading days. And maybe you're going to look to go lower then. Okay, Sunny says with this previous candle, down wick, previous candle, trade plan is void even if we make a low later passing the bottom of that wick. Okay, so I think what Sunny's trying to say, and it looks like we are trying to break above now. Let's look here. Okay, it looks like we're trying to break above the 20 here. I think what he's saying is if somebody had a downside bias here, okay, we're so far up that it would take quite a bit of a move to get back to take this out to go lower, I believe is what he's trying to say there. Because you want to use common sense in your moves, right? So if all of a sudden it reversed and started going the other way, and you take this out, you could do it either way. You could just say, hey, I'm going to wait for some other sort of confirmation, or you could enter there, okay, because it would take one heck of a powerful move to just all of a sudden reverse here, come all the way down here and take this out on the same candle. We would call that a single candle power reversal, is what we would call it. And it would take a lot of strength. So some people would look at that and go, hey, I know I wasn't in it through here, But now that we've got here, it's showing so much power, I'm going to take it, and then my target might be here. I'm just making something up. My target might be here. You know, so on and so forth. But you can play it either way. Okay, so right now, it's trying to break above the 20. We do have this resistance level at 27.21. As you can see, it's been respected through here. Okay, on the way down, it just went right through it, but all the way through here, it was respected. It was respected from the bottom side, top side. Now we're coming back up to it. Are we going to go right through it, or are we going to catch any kind of resistance here? We'll wait a few more minutes, and we're going to see. And if it breaks through there, then we're looking to get up to this target. And the target was a scalp from breaking and holding the 20 up to the top of this candle. That's what that target is. So we're just sort of watching it right now, and we'll wrap things up here in just a few minutes. Okay, you see the struggle. Okay, we're watching this in real time. You only get to see this if you watch price action in real time, right? So if this breaks through there and you come back later, people might say, oh yeah, it easily got through there. But you can see it's come right up to the level, and now it's bouncing up and down. It's bouncing up and down. That's because there's a little bit of a struggle going on right there. Okay, you could look at time and sales. Now I have mine set to only show bigger trades, so it has to be 10 contracts or more. And all that means is when you see a 10, that's 1,000 shares. When you see a 13, that's 1,300 shares, 1,900 shares. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is this going to be more heavily green or more heavily red? And if they're somewhat equal, is one side have bigger numbers than the other? There's really not a whole lot going on. If there was a lot of action, this tape would be rolling. Okay, the time and said these are orders. These are actual orders. Okay, it would really be rolling down through here. This is only showing the bigger ones because that's really all I'm concerned with. Here, I'll show you what you can do. You can turn it to the smaller ones. See, you're going to get your 2Zs, 3Zs, 4Zs, 5Zs. Okay, you see this? I'm not concerned about that. I want to see the bigger orders. Okay, there's a 20, so that's 2,000 shares. There's a 74, that's 7,400 shares. That's what you want to know about. Okay, that's what you want to know about. So even though we see fairly equal red and green, okay, now you're starting to see more green, and there's some bigger greens, 50, 38, 75. All right, now that's showing you that the buyers are trying to step in. When I saw this 74, everything was pretty equal. Now you're seeing a lot of big numbers out of the buyers, and there we go, okay? You see that? I don't watch time and sales much, but I'm just trying to show you, you see how all of a sudden business started to pick up with the bigger orders? You notice that? Okay, Sonny, when it's moving along the 20 like that, really you just have to kind of play that by feel. Okay, if you start to see a break where you get a couple dollars above it, that's probably a good idea, you know, where you could enter there and then you have a decent stop. You know, maybe your stop is under the low of that candle, this candle right here. Okay, but when you're just sort of riding along it and it's poking its head up, you know, just $1 or so, $1 or $2, and then coming back down, I usually wait until it breaks, you know, $2, $3 above, and then I might enter, but I'm always going to have a tight stop. Okay, always going to have a tight stop. Okay, so again, I just wanted to show you guys this because it is a way in real time to know what orders are being placed, and it'll sometimes give you a decent idea of what's about to happen. Okay, here's some more big orders. There's a 62 and a 27. And these were the ones we saw earlier. But see how all of a sudden I have this set for only 10 or more. And you see now it's starting to roll. That means there's starting to be more of a struggle there. And when those big green orders came in, that's when you saw it spike up. Okay, so now, now it's more equal again. These are your most current ones right up here. And it's telling you where they bought and sold. It's telling you exactly the price level they bought and sold at. All right, so you see current price, 27.20. Before it goes off, look, this was 6,200 shares that was bought at 27.24. Okay, so that was up here. That's why we saw the spike. That's why we saw the spike up. But you can use this. I don't keep it scrolling all the time. If you're at a level like this and you're wanting to know, are we going to break above or it's going to reject, you might pop this out. That's all you have to do on Thinkorswim. It's a little tab right there. You just pop it in or out. So if you get to a level and you're sort of stalled there and you're wanting to know, hey, are we going to reject or are we going to go through? You can pop this on and just kind of see. Do you see, first of all, do you see more red or more green? And then you look over at the size of the numbers, and I would highly recommend that you turn it to where you only see the bigger numbers. Now look at that. Okay, that's big. 172, 283. Okay, buyers are trying to step in here to keep it going up if they can. We see more red on the screen, but you see bigger orders from the buyers. Okay, but we're starting to see more red, and look what's happening to price. See that? So that's just a way that you can kind of gauge when you get to a level where it doesn't seem like it can get through. We noticed how the screen was starting to turn mostly red, and then what happens? Price starts to fall away. Sonny, you're saying that it's so dynamic. Are you talking about the time and sales? The time and sales are actual orders in real time that have been filled. Those are filled orders in real time. It's not level 2. Okay, level 2, or some people call it the matrix or the table, okay, where you've got the columns running side by side. Those are unfulfilled orders. Those are unfulfilled orders. Time and sales, these are actual orders that have been filled. These are filled orders, and they're telling you the time and the price they were filled at. Okay? When you're looking at level 2, okay, these are unfulfilled orders, orders that are placed at these levels. Okay? I don't pay any attention myself to level 2. Okay? I never have. To me, if you're going to look at anything, and again, this is my personal opinion, people can do whatever they want. Knowing where actual orders have been placed is more important than knowing where orders are just sitting. Because orders that are sitting can be pulled. Right? My friends who are institutional traders, I've told you guys in the room this before. I have friends of mine who are retired institutional traders. I know some current institutional traders. And they have told me before about how easily order flow can be manipulated. They can put orders at a certain level and just let them sit there, and it'll look like this huge block of orders there, and then price gets up there and people see that and they think, oh, there's going to be a turn here, or it's going to pause or stall or whatever. And then when they start getting out, they just pull those orders away. And then price continues the way that it was going to go. So again, anybody can do anything they want. I'm just not a big fan of level 2. If I'm going to look at anything, I'm going to look at time and sales. That's me, because those are actual orders that have been placed. And you guys saw it when I did have it up there. Remember just a couple minutes ago when we got up here and we had not been above this 27.21 level. We were just stalled out there, and then all of a sudden we saw that order for 7,400 shares at 27.24. Okay, that means that it got filled and price popped right up there. It popped right up there because that was an actual filled order. That's, to me, that's more important to know, right? And then when we looked at it a minute ago, now it's every time you go back here, it's clearing out what was there. But right now, you're seeing more red than green. Okay, so if this screen starts to fill up and it's mostly red, well, what's going to happen? Price is going to start to fall away, especially if you see that it's getting filled at lower and lower numbers, right? So you got, here's the quantity, here's the time the order was filled, the most current will be at the top, and the price they were filled at. So if you see these numbers start to decrease, okay, and you start seeing more red than green and the numbers are decreasing, price is going to start to fall away. Okay, but that'll drive you nuts trying to watch it all the time. Like I said, about the only time I ever bring it up is when we're struggling at a level. And right now you can see we're rejecting the level, and it made sense based on what we saw with the time and sales. The buyers made sort of a push. Okay, if you remember at that time when the whole screen was filled, there was more red than green, but the green, there was some big orders. Remember, there was like 283 and 172. Okay, so that was like 28,000 shares and 17,000 shares, but most of the screen was red. That was just some buyers that were being desperate, trying to, hey, if I can just get us over this level, then maybe we're likely to pop up here. But the majority of people were trying to drive price down. And so far, that's what's happening. Okay, guys, we're at 11:51. We normally go 9:45 to 11:45. As always, I'm going to end by just telling you, if you don't know anything about us, go to simpletradinglife.com. You could join our free room or our premium room. Either one, we'd love to have you come join us. Here on the YouTube, give us thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, definitely turn on the notifications bell, and you'll be alerted anytime that we put out new content or go live. I thank you so much for joining us, and you can also, leave comments. You can. My email is scott@simpletradinglife.com. You can email me questions, and I'd be happy to try to help you out. We're trying to build the largest online free community for traders that we possibly can. And we think that YouTube is going to be a big tool in that. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you on Friday at 9:45 a.m. Bye-bye.